Ghetto Man here. Today's issue is I'm going to touch on martial law today. Now, I'm not going to get into a great deal of detail on it because, well, I've done videos on that where I discuss the historical development of martial law and what it actually is. Well, martial law, for most people, I don't even know why they use the word law because martial law is not a law at all. It's more like an indulgence. Martial law occurs when the entire civil government breaks down. In other words, the courts are closed. The police department can't do its duty. There's rioting in the streets, and it's just total chaos. And that everything that we normally, that's normally open in our society is totally closed. And then what happens is that the governor, if it happens in a state, or the president, if it's happened within the United States, they declare martial law, which is basically something's got to be done to bring back order. So the military comes in and for the most part just wants to round up whoever's responsible for the insurrection. And then once the courts are working and the police department's working and all, commerce is working and everything's back to the way it's supposed to be, then the people that were round up are handed over to the civil government in that state or whatever, and or to the United States government, and they're given their full due process of law, and they're tried for whatever crimes they did during their insurrection. But martial law can only last as long as it takes to bring everything back in order. Once everything's back in order, the military has to withdraw, and your civil government operates the way it's always operated. Now, it's funny because I live here in Montana, and I live in a place called Butte, Montana. Now, Butte, Montana has a history. It's a mining town. In fact, that's what they call the richest hill on earth. They had the Copper Kings and all these people that were running the show, and rich people. And then, of course, you had all the poor people that worked in the mines and sacrificed their lives and did everything else. Well, anyway, there was a great division between the haves and the have-nots, just the same thing as today. And in Butte, Montana, they had a very strong socialist stronghold. The unions and everything dealt around socialism. So what ended up happening is that the miners flipped out and completely the entire government broke down. There was rioting in the streets. People were actually hung from trestles. It was quite a fiasco. So the governor had to declare martial law, and then they brought in the National Guard, and the National Guard, suppressed the insurrection and rounded everybody up. And it was kind of an interesting case because it was called Ex parte McDonald. If you want to look it up, you can find it in book 143 Pacific on page 947. It's a 1914 case. And what was interesting is that when the military rounded up all these people in Butte, Montana, and suppressed the insurrection and the rebellion, the military wanted to try these people in a military tribunal. Remember, they're just citizens of Butte, citizens of the state, citizens of the United States. Well, anyway, the Montana Supreme Court made it very clear that once the insurrection had been suppressed, that these people have to be returned to the civil government and given their full constitutional protections, a trial by jury, and face their accusers, everything that we have and that we've studied in the Bill of Rights. And made it very clear that martial law was extremely limited. And it wasn't something that, that you put into place and then from that point on, the military runs the show. No, the military just makes sure that the courts are open, police department's open, commerce is running the way it's supposed to, schools are open, everybody's just doing what they normally do. And once that's been established, then the military has to leave. Their job is done. Remember, martial law is it's no law at all. You won't find anything in the books that just say this is what martial law is. It's more of an indulgence. It's something that the president or the governor has to do because there's just no choice. You know, you have to stop the rebellion. You have to stop it. Now, can the military shoot anybody? Yes. If their lives are threatened by somebody shooting at them, of course, they can shoot back. But I don't want to get into that subject right now. I just want to keep it simple, that you understand that we're coming up on a situation here. We have states that are passing these national popular voting laws. And what they're doing is they're taking all the electoral votes and they're just basically turning each state into a democracy, a winner takes all. The state legislators that are promoting these national popular voting laws, what they are is they're engaged in an ongoing conspiracy to undermine the integrity of our Republican election process. Okay, they're all in violation of their oath and office to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. And what they have done, now it's very important to understand that, is that these states, they have engaged in a conspiracy. Now, this is a real conspiracy. They've engaged in a conspiracy to enter into an agreement or a compact with other states. So they're joining with other states to pass these laws. And when they reach the 270 electoral votes, then they're going to kick this into play. Now, you got to understand that by entering in this compact with these other states and doing so without the consent of Congress, they're in violation of Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the United States Constitution. And they're also engaged in a conspiracy to alter Article 2, Section 1. That's where you'll find the Electoral College and how it works. And they're engaged in a conspiracy to bypass Article 5, the constitutional amendment process as well. So we've got the states that are engaged in this conspiracy, this compact, which is being made without the consent of Congress in violation, like I said, of Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3. And, of course, they're altering how the Electoral College is set up under Article 1, Section 1 of the United States Constitution. And as I said before, they're bypassing Article 5, the constitutional amendment process. Okay, now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what's going to happen here, just with this alone. That when we get into the 2020 election, and we have states that have decided that they're going to bypass the amendment process to the United States Constitution and bring in this compact of national popular voting laws. I can't remember how, it's such a ridiculous thing in the first place, that these states think that they can do this. All this they're going to do is going to disrupt the entire election process dealing with the presidency. No one's going to know how the votes are going to be counted. So we have this system that violates the Constitution coming in, and we have the constitutional system of electing the president, and now that's going to be all disrupted. There isn't any possible way that we can determine who's won the election if there's an illegal process going on as well as the legal process that's found in the Constitution. We're not going to know who won. Now, this is going to turn things upside down. I mean, it's not we have enough problems with illegal aliens coming in and drugs and child trafficking and all the other things that the Democrats are doing. Now they're going to go ahead and really, you want to talk about election tampering, because it doesn't matter how many illegal votes they get if the whole system is going to be, there's two different systems running simultaneously that are supposed to be electing the president. It isn't going to work. And what we're going to end up with such a problem here that it could. And my gut tells me it's going to. It's almost like it's planned. It's going to end up in total chaos. And we could end up a situation where government breaks down. There is no government. Okay? Now, of course, if you're a patriot, and if you're someone who has been following, what's going on in this country, from the non-ratification of the 16th Amendment, the illegal income tax, which is the second plank of the Communist Manifesto, the Federal Reserve banking system, which violates Article 1, Section 8 and 10 of the United States Constitution, the Coinage Act of 1792 and 1900. It's all a mess. And right now, President Trump, and I don't support everything that he does. I don't. But the one thing I do support, and if it's the only thing he can do in 4 years or 8 years, is to round up all the traitors that have been violating their oath of office and have turned our Republican form of government into it's democracy. We have a problem here. You need to put away some food. You need to put away at least a 3-month supply of food. You need enough food so you can kind of figure out what your next move is going to be. Ammunition, guns. Now we've discussed this before that when it comes to the Second Amendment, it's not open for debate. The United States Constitution didn't grant us the right to keep and bear arms. This is something that we have whether there's a Constitution or not, and it's very important that we understand this because when the government says, it's now illegal to own a firearm, you have to know that it's an inalienable right to not obey an unconstitutional law. So if they pass a law, say they're going to pick up the guns, all that does for the Second Amendment is validate it. And you better understand that you are going to have to make a decision. All the time I listen to people, they tell me, the government needs to do this. We need to round up these people. We need to do this. We need to do that. Well, you know what you need to do? You need to learn how to take care of your own life. You need to learn how to use the court system. You need to know how to get rid of someone within your local government who is corrupt and is violating the law. You can't sit back here and turn it over to the government to do. That's what we do in this country. What we do is we take all of our responsibility, all of it, from our health, everything, and we turn it over to some corporation. We drive our cars, we have insurance. Because why? We're not responsible enough to drive right. So we want to put our responsibility in the hands of insurance companies. And we wonder why these people who we want to do our job for us one day try to take over our lives. It's not that hard to understand. But I really want to stress this point on what's coming up. I really think that the 2020 elections is going to be a fiasco, and it could end up in a situation where there's a constitutional crisis. And if the election process, if nobody knows who won the election, and there's voter fraud going on, which these national popular voting laws are voter fraud, because it is defrauding the rest of us out of how our Republican form of government, how our presidential election process works. And anybody that understands the Electoral College knows that without it, the smaller states with a lower amount of population just aren't going to have a vote. And all the major cities and states with the largest population, they're going to have all the votes. So however California and Chicago and New York are thinking, whatever those nuts think, the rest of us have to go along with it. And our founding fathers understood that. That's why they were opposed to the democratic form of government. They hated democracies. I've done videos on it. I've told people over and over again, the one form of government that our founding fathers absolutely hated was democracy. They thought it was the most violent, disgusting thing there is. And they made sure that there was a distinction between the two, that we have a representative form of government. People are elected in office. They take oaths to uphold and defend the Constitution, which means that when they go into office, they got to take their political persuasions and they have to leave them at the door. They took an oath. Now they're constitutionalists. They said they're going to uphold and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's what they're supposed to do. So the moment they get in there and they say anything that is contrary to their oath, like, hey, I think we ought to get rid of the Second Amendment. Right there. That is perjury. That is treason. We hired you and you made a promise under an oath or affirmation. You made a promise that you would obey the law. And then the first thing you do is you come in here and say you're going to go ahead and overthrow it? That's not what we hired you for. But we don't prosecute these people anymore. And people say, well, what can I do? Everything's corrupt. You need to get involved. You need to go and file a complaint against these people. You need to take them to court. Organize as little groups. Get some people together that understand how the court system works. I mean, I've spent my entire life protecting my rights. I know how to protect my rights. I don't know how to protect yours. You're going to have to learn how to protect your own rights. And if you can't protect them, then guess what? Kiss your ass goodbye. Bend over and kiss your ass goodbye. Because in a free country, if you're going to be the sovereign and you're going to be the one that is in control of every part of your life, then you better start acting like one and learn how to be responsible. I mean, all the laws that we have, the drinking and driving and all these laws that they come up with, a responsible person doesn't need those laws because they're not going to go out and do irresponsible things. And when they do, the fact that they were drunk and killed somebody isn't even, the fact you're drunk isn't even an issue. The only issue is that you killed somebody. So anyway, I'm really concerned about this. People have sit there and say to me, oh, there's no way there's going to be a constitutional crisis. I'm telling you, these people have been trying to get this president out of office since before he got in office. They've been trying to get him out. And they've done every illegal thing they could. And now they've got this compact together, an illegal compact, a conspiracy between the states. And I'm talking about the majority, the Democrats, those that are running those states. They have taken upon themselves that they are going to amend the Constitution in a way that is not authorized by the Constitution. They're above the law. They're going to create the law. They're going to change the law. And every one of these people took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution at the state level and at the federal government level. They all took the same oath. And they're all in violation of that oath. If you know the law, you'll know your enemy. You don't have to look very far, and these people, all of them need to be arrested. I mean, we need to put a stop to this insurrection. This is a rebellion. It's not even a soft coup anymore. This affects our lives. It affects our economics. It affects our freedom. It affects everything that we do. Allowing people to come across that border illegally is an invasion. Plain and simple. Now, I don't know why Trump hasn't put a stop to that. It should be easy enough to get the military down there and do their job. But it's not being done. I don't know what the reason's all about, and I'm really upset about that because I've done videos on that. This is a time when we all have to get involved. I know. It's much easier to say, oh, God, when is Trump going to do this? When is so-and-so going to do that? When are they going to do that? Well, when are you going to do something? When are you going to get off your ass, learn the goddamn Constitution, learn the law, and start acting like a sovereign citizen instead of some whipped puppy that says, oh, my God, what are we going to do if they come for our guns? Oh, my God, what are we going to do? If you're that afraid of them, why don't you turn them in now? Sooner or later, you're going to have to make a decision. And it may be a life and death decision. That someday you may have to get up off your ass and defend what you've got. That these people out here do not care about you. They are not going to protect your rights. They are not going to do anything that is going to help you. All government's job is to do is one thing. That's all it is. It's all clear, written in the Bill of Rights. And we don't even need the Bill of Rights. The Constitution was written clear when it was ratified that whatever was in it, that's all the government can do, nothing more. And look what's going on out here. And the reason why people have gotten away with it is because, the reason why government has gotten away with it, because nobody challenges them. Why? I don't know. I guess if you look at most people, you would take off their shirt and you see a yellow stripe running right down their back and all the way up their asshole. That's what I think's going on here. You know, if you are the boss, then start acting like a boss. And if these people are your servants, why are you letting them walk all over you? Why are you letting them lie? You know, the biggest problem we have in this country is the educational system, and I've done 11 or 12 videos on communism. Of course, the 10th plank of the Communist Manifesto is free education in public schools, and people wonder why everything's the way it is. Well, you turn your kids over to the state every day, 8 hours a day, and what do? They teach them everything that the state wants them to know, and the people that are running the state now are filthy perverts. They're pedophiles. And they have your children all day long. And they teach your children how to think. Oh, you like dolls, Johnny? Well, maybe you like dresses too. And they sit there and they groom your children. You know, if you want to know where the pedophiles are, you want to find out where the pedophiles are, you look where there's children. Anywhere that there is a child that is being watched by another adult, there are pedophiles if the person that's watching them is not a pedophile. Wake up. 2020 is going to be a turning point. There's going to be so much chaos in this country that the president is going to have to declare martial law. And of course, as soon as he does, what are they going to do? They're going to say, oh, he's a dictator. The Democrats are creating this. The Democrats are our number one domestic enemy. This is the enemy within. These are the traitors. These are the ones that sneak around and undermine everything that is good. Why? Because they're just filthy. They're greedy, narcissistic, complete, out-of-control perverts. It's disgusting. Can't even watch TV anymore. Well, anyway, that's my rant, and I'm sticking to it. I'm the Ghetto Man. Thank you for watching. If you're politically correct, then you're legally wrong. And if you're not part of the solution, then by God, you are the problem. Please subscribe to my BitChute channel. I do have one on YouTube, but I just post on there just to see how much they censor me. But please subscribe to my BitChute channel, and please share these videos. You know, I know people don't like to, the law is uninteresting to them. They just don't want to hear about it. But if you are going to live in a free society, ignorance of the law is no excuse.